So the title of the show, Bloom and Gloom, is something I came up with thinking about that dichotomy between decay and rebirth. For me, it captured that idea that it's not only about decay, it's also about setting the tone for something new to happen. These wall works are referencing my personal history, thinking about memory, place, time passing. This is Eastern Parkway Brooklyn Museum subway stop, my personal stop for my apartment. I make these pieces in my studio and then transport them here, and I glue and paper mache the edges. When I bring the works to the gallery and I install them, I brought some of the debris that happens from the making of the piece because I want it to look like the actual excavation was happening here. It gives the viewer pause to try to figure out what's going on, what happened, what's art, basically. Did this happen here? Did this happen somewhere else? So this piece is called Boarded Up Window Brooklyn, and everywhere I've had an art studio is usually in a fringe neighborhood that's just on the border of being gentrified. And then as some years go by, things start changing. So I tried to make the graffiti almost more like brushstrokes that I was making up and just have it be very painterly looking. This work is called My Bathroom Walls Unfolded. These are my walls around my tub and my shower. So the tub would be right here, as if you could fold up the two sides where you start seeing the most tiering. I wanted to do as a more intimate space, thinking about the bathroom as a place where we confront our mortality, and a lot of the show is about that. The window's made out of cardboard that's paper mache'd over, and the fixtures, I paper mache'd over my actual fixtures and let it dry and then cut them off, so they're almost like skins of the actual fixtures. When I was a kid, my mom and dad had two different wallpapers, and my mother's side of the room had these purple and pink flowers. And at some point, they renovated and stripped the wallpaper and painted the room blue. So I repainted the pattern of the wallpaper myself using an old photograph, glued a layer of paper on top, painted it the blue of the renovation, and then rolled another piece of paper on top and painted it white to match the gallery wall. And then I went back and peeled away at it as if trying to find my earliest memory. And I think because it's about this childhood memory, there was something about really covering it up and then going back and digging through it that the process created more remnants than some of the other work. Reverse archaeology is a term that I made up. These have the appearance of being an excavation or some sort of archaeological dig, but I'm creating the layers that are then being revealed. So I was thinking of it as this reversal, that it's an additive process of adding these layers, but it actually looks subtractive. Through the making or remaking of these places, somehow I learned something new about my life, myself, or where I'm going in the future. This is a good example of a starting point with the ceramics where I recreated a Dutch Vanita painting and then made it look decayed as if the roots were coming out. A lot of times Vanita is talking about vanity or the fleetingness of material goods, impermanence, mortality, passage of time. This is the jumping off point to get to the tabletop sculpture. So some of these are like drooping and cracking as if the landscape was becoming so dry that it was affecting things in the house. Some of these with roots as if the root ball grew so big it got lifted right out of the pot. With this charred tulip piece, I was again thinking of the arrangement of the Dutch tulips, but as if a wildfire swept through the house and charred everything in the house, including the plant. There's also a Japanese technique where they char wood to make it more durable and insect repellent, called shusugiban. This ceramic wall piece I had made to try to tie the wall work in with the ceramics. This is the same scale as the subway tile, but all made out of ceramic. After I made it, I broke it with a hammer and then re-glued it all back together. It could be part of that element of self-exploration, is going back and putting pieces back together and reflecting on it could actually make some part of you stronger. Everything that's happening with the environment, I think there's a very big collective feeling of collective grief about that and what that holds for our future and future generations. I like to think there's a more hopeful element within the show of that things can come back to life in a different way or become more durable in a different way.